Hi there, Sean Kevelighan with another CSAA Executive Exchange. Today I am fortunate enough to be joined by Debbie Brackeen. She is the Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer for CSAA. CSAA is one of three insurers affiliated with the AAA automobile network that we're all very familiar with in the United States. Debbie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Nice to see you, Sean.
Good to see you. Hey, listen, CSAA, I know we've worked together for many years as a working member of the III and supporter. You all have been paying very close attention, being based primarily, you're in many states in the United States. You do a lot of business in the state of California. You've seen the various increases in climate risks. Can you tell me a little bit about CSAA's insurance group and the perspective you have about this journey of how the industry is responding to increased climate risk?
Yeah, happy to. We've been on a journey really to reduce our environmental footprint for some time. I've been with the company almost 7 years now. We set a goal several years ago based off of our 2016 baseline to reduce our kind of carbon footprint by 50% by the year 2025. And I think we're well on our way. We're pretty close to reaching that already. And we view this work as very aligned with our mission, which is to help our AAA members prevent, prepare for, and recover from life's uncertainties broadly. But in this instance, it's kind of hard to ignore climate change and climate risk as it's affecting our customers and our industry today. So we think it's important and appropriate for the insurance industry in particular to be leaders on the climate change kind of journey. And we strive to be, leaders ourselves in this because it's, as I said, it's hard to ignore. It feels like we hear about something every day these days.
No, absolutely. And oftentimes what we've seen in the last few years, the ESG movement, as I would call it, has taken a hold. But what we at III have also been saying that ESG has really been in our DNA as an industry. And I think CSAA is a great example of living that day in and day out. And I wanted to ask you some of the specific programs that you all have had, because you've had some real exciting initiatives over the last couple of years that have honed in on ways to get towards what you were talking about, helping the consumer and community understand ways to better predict and prevent and mitigate against catastrophe.
Absolutely. Well, we do so many things, it's hard to pick some good ones, but we do have a few good ones. Personally, I'm very proud. My team sponsored and led our first ever Open Innovation Challenge on climate resilience this year. We did that in partnership with IDEO and Aon and several other sponsors, including two other reinsurance partners of ours. Maybe we could have time to talk about that a little later. Another really cool initiative that we've partnered on is the California Wildfire Innovation Fund in partnership with Blue Forest. And that's a $50 million fund. We contributed half of that of the capital, and that fund is focused on basically forest restoration and different economic development programs related to forest restoration and reducing fuel in a smart, sustainable way that doesn't, just leave fuel on the ground for wildfires. As you mentioned, most of our business is in California, and wildfire is an ever-present risk. Maybe a third one I'll mention is we are also founding kind of supporters of a really cool center at San Jose State University called the Wildfire Interdisciplinary Research Center. And they're doing amazing, I think, innovative work around predictive modeling and really high-res modeling and stuff like that. And again, any solution that helps mitigate the risk for, certainly for the industry, but more importantly for the companies, the customers that we insure is absolutely essential. So those are just a few things that we're doing among many.
Yeah, and more than half the battle is acknowledging that the risk is increasing, right? And that we do need to find new solutions out there that we can use, one for ourselves as insurers, but also for our customers. But as an industry, and you've been in this industry for some time, what would you say, as it relates to climate risk is one of the bigger hurdles that we need to overcome?
Yeah, well, I think for me, just a brief personal anecdote. The first 2 years, my first 2 years in the industry were 2017 and 2018, and I had joined at the very end of 2016. Two horrible, wildfire seasons in those years. I mean, for ourselves alone, I think they were both $1 billion plus losses in our book. Those, so for my first 2 years, I was like, is this normal? Is this how it's going to be every year? And it really ignited, sorry for the pun, in me, like whatever we do in innovation at CSAA, it will always include some, anything that we can think of to help mitigate wildfire risk. But I think what I'm most worried about, just economically, is a lot of the risks that we insure, that reinsurers reinsure, are seemingly becoming uninsurable. I mean, the costs associated with not just wildfire, I think, this year has been a horrible, loss year, especially with catastrophic losses. And for ourselves alone, first half of the year, we had eaten through the majority of our catastrophic loss budget, not because of any one big event, but because of the cumulative effect of a lot of little things always, throughout the year. Convective storms in the Midwest, atmospheric rivers, 14 or 15 of them here in California. So I think to me, I think it's just such a pressing issue for us as an industry. We have got to seek different kinds of partnerships, private, public, government, and different kinds of solutions to tackle these challenges, because it's not a good situation that we find ourselves in, for sure.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, we oftentimes, and we have even in this discussion, we've talked about the larger problem that is wildfires in the West, and quite honestly throughout the country, and hurricanes, on the East and Gulf Coast. But those convective storms are really what is getting us in terms of increased climate risk. That'll actually be the next issue brief that we're putting out at III, because they're very frequent, and they're very severe. Even though we just all think of them personally as a passing thunderstorm, they're causing quite a bit of damage to our communities.
Yeah.
What would you, though, in recognizing that we do have hurdles to overcome, and we're seeing these increases, and we've got to have more awareness and information so that people can mitigate them, where do you see the opportunity for the insurance industry in this area?
Yeah, well, I think it's really in what I mentioned, which is seeking innovative partnerships, being leaders. I do think we must play a leadership role. And one of my team colleagues who helped manage all the logistics associated with the climate challenge I mentioned earlier, the resilience challenge, she has a great phrase that I won't get exactly right, but in this fight, for our industry, and probably for our world's population, but in our industry, there are no competitors in this fight. We have to partner. We have to be on the same side of the table, and find ways to work with each other to help mitigate the risks associated with climate change.
Debbie Brackeen, thank you so much for joining us today. And to the audience, thank you so much for joining us for another Executive Exchange, where we're helping, as usual, at III to inform important discussions about insurance.